The red hand over the face that MMIW uses. Every homeless person should have that, especially the males. Our voices are silent. If we speak up, we will be victimized just for speaking up. We will be victimized by the Me Too movement. We'll be victimized by, well, pretty much every one of you. If I am raped and I go to Kandace Edwards for help, she's going to tell me about how her daughter is in foster care, living with the cousin who molested her. What do I want to do? I want the predator's name. And I want to turn it in. If you are going to tell me these things are happening to your daughter, then let us turn it in right now, right this moment. Through all of this, that's the one thing that stops me dead in my goddamn tracks every fucking time. You tell me fucked up shit's happening to a kid, I will stop everything right fucking now. Same thing needs to be done when it's an at-risk adult, that being a disabled adult or an elderly adult. They take precedence and priority above all else. When it comes to children, the disabled, and the elderly, you may have no expectation of privacy. None. You know what? Amanda DeMette, her excuse for not coming forward with the truth 6 years ago was that 3 years ago her brother got busted trying to entice a 9-year-old to show him her vajayjay. Am I going to accept that as an excuse for looking away from harm against an innocent man? It doesn't matter if I'm the innocent man or if somebody else is, I will fucking speak up. When it comes to all the people who went to bat for James Payton, you goddamn right, I spoke up positively for James Payton. The shit where he was a bitch, well, yes, I spoke up about that. I spoke up about my personal experiences. The common consensus is that Jamie Curtis is a violent person. Many people have verified that to me. Also, several of James Payton's ex-girlfriends have said, hey, he never laid a finger on me like that. I don't think he has it in him to hit a woman. That might mean he was raised right, with the exception of some of the stupid stuff that he said. What's this all got to do with Kandace Edwards and if I'm raped? What's Kandace Edwards going to do if I'm raped? She's going to tell me to go through motions that someone else has to go through with me. I'm going to explain that you have to go through it with me. If I got to go get a rape kit administered, I'm going to need you to be on the phone with me and stay on the phone with me and listen to me. Because I have to go into a very scary situation at that point. I got to go in and I got to talk to a hospital as an unprotected at-risk adult, a disabled at-risk adult. The likelihood of me getting blown off is immense. And that's shown by the literally hundreds of recordings that I have where I had to go to these places alone because people couldn't stop and listen to me. Couldn't take the time to look at even the most important stuff. They say, hey, pull out the most important stuff. I do that and I send it to you and you don't look. And then you argue with me about what's in there, and I ask you if you've looked in there, and you say, no, not yet. And I ask you why you're still arguing with me. You say you have no time, but then you spend 3 hours arguing with me. And then you'll eventually make the time, but every time that you're going to, I already know that the protocol that I'm supposed to go through is to go to a friend or family member and try to turn it in. There are steps that need to be taken to do that, however. And when you're busy telling me steps that don't actually exist, or you're telling me what you heard, there was this officer over by my friend's house, a similar thing happened, and this is what the cop said. And I want you to take a look at how many officers have been arrested for doing those things. I want you to take a look at the fact that many officers are getting in trouble for exactly what I've been telling you. Lying. Outright lying to people. Claiming that the law says something that it doesn't. They know that they're lying to you when they do it. They are aware that they are lying to you when they do it. And you tell me to trust these people, and you want me to go talk to them alone, when literally they are allowed to lie nonstop, and you idiots are just going to believe anything they fucking tell you anyway, as long as it's not happening to you. A crime against a disabled and at-risk adult. This is taking advantage of the most at-risk people in the country, especially if that person is homeless, especially if that person is a male, because of bias. When it comes to autism, all these people telling me that they know about autism. They know about autism because they got a cousin who's autistic. They're going to tell you they already have their own educational material on autism and they know everything about it. Do they know anything about you as an individual or how autism affects your life? No, they've got something that is probably presented by somebody who does not have it, does not have to endure it. Now, there's a doctor who explains very well, and I wish I could remember his name, but he explains very well that the difference between a neurotypical mind and somebody with high-functioning autism. Now, there's 2 types of high-functioning autism, just so you know. 2 very distinct differences, and one of them is a very distinct type called Asperger's, which is now grouped in with high-functioning, high-masking autism. High-masking. See, that's something that us with Asperger's have to try to do at all points in time. Otherwise, we're weird and we're creepy because we're different. And you're going to treat us like we must be rapists because we're different. We're creepy. We're creepy. We're creepy. We're creepy. You just shove that at us. You don't stop to consider what that does to a human being when you will not stop doing that. And it's even worse than that, because most of you think it's just the words, and words just roll off your back and it's all fine and dandy. No, you guys don't like my words, do you? No, you don't. When I tell you about the abuse that I'm enduring, that I'm trying to turn in, I'm sending you evidence of it, and you want to argue with me. What you are doing is making me feel unimportant, like I don't matter, like I can't trust you if I'm harmed to do anything except more harm. When somebody comes to you because they've been raped and you talk to them like they're an idiot, like they don't know what rape is because they're autistic. Well, holy shit, what kind of a fucked up person does that make you? There's evidence that needs to be collected, and people's memories, of course, of the incident are more likely to be accurate at the point in time that the situation happened. You are also more likely to be able to get the evidence. When you guys make me go in alone, what you are not understanding is that you are forcing it into a situation where it is going to be their word versus mine. You're forcing it into a situation where they are going to be able to tell that I'm someone who's different and someone who's, more importantly, very, very, very broke and alone. Is a rapist more likely to rape you in the middle of a party in the living room with hundreds of people around? Or are they more likely to rape you when they have you alone somewhere very, 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 very private? Are they more likely to target you if you are walking with 6 of your friends, or are they more likely to walk with you when you're walking alone? The roadblocks that I have, you guys want to push your roadblocks on me as reasons that you aren't able to help for any particular reason for a particular area. All right. Well, if I listen to you, tell me all of your roadblocks. But when I try to tell you what my roadblocks are, you want to talk over me and dismiss me as if you have the answer to everything in less than 5 minutes of actual listening time. When you're listening to respond, you're not listening. When you're listening to give advice, you're not listening. You need to be listening to understand. There are many situations that Laura Nelson, being as she was aware of so much of these things that were going on, if she'd have spoken up, it would have made all the difference in the world. Brenda Dickinson as well. I have been raped. And I can honestly tell you this is worse. Now, we have taught women in America. We've taught them. This is not something that is inherent to all women. Not every woman who is taught this horrible stuff is actually going to fall for it or go for it. But the fact is, it's many of your fallback. Your excuse is that that's what you were taught. Well, you know, that's what I was told. That's what I was told about autistic people. You guys can't regulate your emotions. Really? Really? I have to regulate my emotions far better than you do. What's Caitlin Edwards going to do if I go to her because I was raped? She's going to tell me a whole bunch of legal mumbo jumbo. She's going to look up a bunch of stuff that I've already looked up. She's going to go out of her way not to understand that I've been doing this for literally years. I've been fighting for other people since I was a child. Because in this system, it ain't no fun. Now, she claims to understand the system, but she also understands it only from a female point of view and is not going to listen to a male point of view. She has assumed that any judgment that she makes must be correct because she made it. even if it's made based on, well, absolutely nothing to do with the actual victim or what the victim is saying. If I explain to you, hey, the issue is that people aren't trying to turn this in with me, so I get treated like I'm a liar when I go in by myself. Even if I record it, she's like, you need to record it. I know, I do record it. I record everything. But you're not understanding how much of it that there really is, and that I've abridged it as much as I can by sending you videos that are short that you can watch, that are abridged versions of stuff that the whole story is up. The whole story is on my YouTube channel. I'm giving you little bits and pieces so that you don't get overwhelmed. And they've even got Cliff's notes in them. And then you want to complain it's not in the right format. I shouldn't have sent it in Facebook. I should have sent it in an email. Well, that makes it a situation where I have to do a lot of work based on my abilities, not your assumptions of my abilities. When there is something that I am incapable of doing for myself, because this is the environment I have to do it in, okay? This is my house. But you want to tell me about, it's my legal residence and this, that, and the other. You know what? There's a lot of stuff where that don't matter. I'm in somebody else's parking lot. In a private parking lot, I do have some rights as far as if the parking lot owners are okay with it, even if only temporary. But the thing is, when everybody talks over you and pawns you off on someone else and wants to give you another resource list that you probably already have, they're not listening to the roadblocks that you have. They're busy telling you about theirs. They don't know what's gone on with you. Me, I've got so much recordings of Caitlin Edwards and a lot of other situations, of course, where they act traumatized if I don't let them overpower the conversation and talk over me and talk down to me like I'm an idiot. And then there's this racist crap. And I know you guys want to argue, oh, racist isn't the right word. This is the word we're going to use. Well, you guys pretend that you're a master race and all autistic people are retarded. There's this doctor who explains, the difference between somebody who's autistic and your average person, your average neurotypical, is kind of the difference between having a high-end sports car and having a work pickup. They're not the same thing. They don't do the same thing. That doesn't mean that neither one of them works. That doesn't mean that one of them is better than the other. It depends on the application. The wiring harness from one isn't going to go out and go into the other one. Now, this doctor goes on to explain that for an autistic person, having a different wiring harness, well, when you've got somebody who's got it dead set in their head that everybody should be a busted-ass Ford out on a farm, and anybody who is not a busted-ass Ford out on a farm is obviously messed up and there's something wrong with them, well, that's no kind of thinking whatsoever. That is intolerance. It is the worst kind of intolerance. Because you are now, many of you, inferring that having a different set of wiring means that you have your wires crossed, that there is something wrong with you because you are different. And they assume that that something is wrong with you because you are different. And then there's the wives' tales that they're told about autistic people. Many of you, you don't know the difference between autism and schizophrenia. You don't know the difference between autism and Down syndrome. You don't know the difference between any of these things, but your judgments, you think it's okay to pass them and to harm people because of your ignorance. That's the problem with not listening to the victim. Now, if I apply everything that Caitlin Edwards has applied to me, well, I would be telling her what a horrible person she is. She deserved to have her child taken away. This is something that she asked for. I can do that. I can give you equality. The way that it makes me feel when you do those things to me and you want to call them help, how does it make you feel when I do those things to you? When you want to get angry because after you repeatedly talking over me and I have to be super nice because I need help. I have to be super nice and let you do all the talking. If I make the mention that you're talking an awful lot about yourself, then I'm going to get snapped at because it's your turn to talk. And you're allowed to snap at me. If I snap at you, it's irrational, right? Then there's the things that you say that you're going to do, the things that you promise you're going to do, the things that you promise you won't do, and you don't keep your word. That's very difficult for me to understand. Why is it that you don't keep your word? And why is it that after you don't keep your word, you expect me to keep your word of what you expected out of me, which was not what was originally agreed upon to begin with anyway? So you just redraw the contract whenever you want. I am required to fulfill my end because I am a subservient. I need your help. You don't need mine. I don't mind speaking up for you. If your daughter is stuck in an environment with someone that she has told you she has been molested by or raped by, yes, I will fucking help you turn it in. Now, there's a woman named Chelsea Aiken, and much like with the situation with, well, with a lot of different people, of course, Amanda Demet's brother ended up being a perv. Amanda Demet has a son who's autistic. He's autistic in a much different way. He is low functioning. Now, I'm willing to bet there's a lot more intelligence in there than people give him credit for. But also, he's low functioning. He is more prone to violence. He is more prone to trying to pull your arm out of your socket because he's had a sensory overload issue. He's overwhelmed. Yes, he may pull your arm out of socket. Amanda Demet's son has pulled her arm out of socket. But Amanda Demet, her pedophile brother or a sex offender brother who's after a 9-year-old, that's her excuse for never coming forward. Really? Your brother molesting children or trying to get underage children to show their genitalia to him? That makes it okay to not tell the truth and allow people to harm me? How much time elapsed between when you should have come forward about the situation with me and when your brother got busted being a perv? I will not protect your brother. With Chelsea Aiken, Rain is her son's name. This is somebody you do not want in a transgender bathroom. Regardless of the fact that he identifies as a she, he has a penis, and he used that penis to rape his own sister. Chelsea's not allowed to bring that up because Rain is pushing 300 pounds and Chelsea is maybe 80 pounds soaking wet. She's also a sex worker. That's right. I said it. Yes, I have lots of people that I know who are sex workers. Some of them, all they do is tickle somebody with a feather. It's still sex work. One lady I know, she specializes in putting colors on people and muzzles, and that's what she does. She doesn't touch their parts at all. Now, Chelsea Aiken is married. Her husband is very sick. They are a poor family. She talks about how she's trying to help all of the victims, but she's not lending a voice to all the victims. Matter of fact, she is even stifling her own daughter's voice. Rain wants to be able to use the transgender bathroom, and Chelsea Aiken, who is all for that at one point in time, is like, no. I don't want my son going in there and raping somebody else. But at the same time, why hasn't she turned him in? Meanwhile, Chelsea Aiken doesn't take a look at the sheer quantity of hell that I went through to try to help her out how she needed. But she was busy trying to protect a pedophile and a rapist. Then there's my mother. Couldn't listen to me, okay? Couldn't listen to me. Couldn't even try. Wanted to slander my name because it justifies her sins and makes her feel better. She used Natalie's death the same way as the rest of my predators, as justification for her own sins against me. Very Christian of her. Caitlin Edwards, what's she going to do if I'm raped and I go to her for help? She's going to tell me about the Jesus. She's going to tell me about how 144,000 people, according to the Bible, they're all rape victims now, must be. In Jesus' name, praise Jesus, 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 Jesus. If one of your relatives is molesting your kid, God damn it, let's turn this shit in. Let's do that while I got a room. Let's focus on your shit and my shit and actually put the time in. Not time for you to argue. We need to separate it. Your daughter being raped by her cousin is a separate issue from me being in a very unsafe environment out here. If we're going to focus on both of them and help each other out, we actually have to do the steps. When you are constantly second-guessing everything that I do and undermining everything that I do, that doesn't give me a sense of trust. That doesn't tell me that I can go to you if I'm abused. If I am physically assaulted, are you going to help me to turn it in? Or are you going to allow the predators to get away to do it to someone else? With Amanda DeMette, thank goodness her brother is in prison, hopefully for a very long time. But that ain't my fault. I didn't make him a pervert. And that is a horrible excuse for allowing an innocent man to be repeatedly victimized over things that you could simply open your mouth and admit that they happened. The help that you tried to provide, did you actually try to provide that help? Many of you are angry at me and want to throw it in my face that you tried to help me. And, well, I said that you tried to help me in the ways that you actually did try. But you didn't try to turn it in with me. When I explained to Caitlin Edwards, hey, here's the thing, all right? I am being harmed by the public because of public opinion. They were given this opinion by others who will not look at the evidence. They're going to take someone else's abridged version and they're going to tweak it a little bit. And then somebody else is going to listen to their channel and they're going to take that abridged version and they're going to tweak it a little bit. When I have told you over a dozen times why people are harming me, and you are going to stop me repeatedly to ask me a bunch of questions. Well, why are they doing that? because of the slander. Why don't you listen? Why don't you listen? You've got your own situation all bundled up. I'm sure Chelsea does call Rain her daughter because that's what Rain wants to go by. But no, not ever. That's not okay. I'm not about protecting the predators. My mom helped protect my little brother and Andrew Witcher and her own abuser, my grandpa, Brian Bruns, who is now deceased. My mom extorted over $200,000 from him, between him and my Uncle Greg, because they both knew that my grandpa used to fuck my mom. No, I'm not my grandpa's kid. My dad made me take a DNA test, wanted to tell me what a hoe my mama was. That was when I was 29, I believe. Then he wanted to give me a watch and tell me not to sell it. It's a gift for taking the DNA test. All right, well, thanks for this piece of shit watch. I ended up selling it because I needed fucking food. People want to give me fucking trinkets that do me no goddamn good. All right, well, thank you very much for the pocket watch. Is that the help I needed? No, I needed his help getting disability. All he was interested in was making sure I was his. Why? Oh, yeah, because he wanted to, his plan, if I was not his kid, was he was going to sue the shit out of my mom for being unfaithful and making him raise a kid that wasn't his, but he didn't raise me. I was raised by a bunch of black kids. That's who I was raised by. I was raised by a bunch of Hispanic kids. That's who I was raised by. I was raised by a bunch of Cambodian kids. That's who I was raised by. I was raised in the system, in the foster care system, with a bunch of minorities. Absolutely, I have a heartfelt place for many of those minorities, including the ones who physically harmed me just because I was different. When there's safety issues, what is Caitlin Edwards going to do? She's going to talk over my safety issues and try to downplay them. And this just undermines the victim. They've come to you for help because they've just been raped. Now it's 8 days later. You've had 6 friends of yours do this to you. You're afraid to go in by yourself because you've gone in before. Your rapist has gotten away with doing this to you before. Because your friends always want to talk about their experience. Oh, well, did I ever tell you about the time that somebody touched my butt at a party in 1988? Shit, I got Ventus Kasai, a male, recorded talking about how traumatic it was for a homosexual male to sexually assault him at a New Year's Eve party. You expect me to just believe you. But you won't even believe me with evidence because you're not hearing me and you're not looking at evidence. Your opinion, your opinion, your opinion. Oh, you have this feeling based on being a Pisces or being a Libra. And then you also want to talk to me about the God. Your God, your God, your God, your God. And Stephanie Larkin with her tarot cards. My tarot cards say that you did fuck. This is somebody whose mother who got her kid back. I am scared for Stephanie Larkin's child. How could I not be? I asked her to leave because she wasn't doing anything helpful. She wasn't a friend. She didn't try to assist me in any way, shape, or form that was useful whatsoever. Telling the victim pretty fucking things to blow them off and to say, oh, well, I sent you a sandwich, or I told you to go get a sandwich. I gave you a resource list for you to call by yourself. You're welcome. Calling them by myself gets me nowhere. That's the problem. I am a male. There is a lot of bias against males. We are preaching nonstop propaganda against males in the United States. Not okay. Who's more likely to get killed by a police officer, me or Kandace Edwards? Me, by a lot. She's also got a child, more than one child, from being irresponsible. She had sex, not me. I didn't get her pregnant. I didn't give her kids. I don't need to ask. When it comes to a DNA test about who the daddy is, I don't need to ask. I know where I've been. I also know the difference between consensual and non-consensual. I know the difference between being bullied into doing something and doing what actually needs to be done. You cannot help the victim by bullying them. That doesn't help them. That makes them afraid to come to you for help, to trust you. When they come to you the second time, because you've blown them off or told them they just need to forget about it, and their predator gets a hold of them again because they're alone. And they're raped again, and they got to go in and take a rape kit. They're afraid because the last time they got victimized like a motherfucker because they had to go in alone. That rape kit didn't go anywhere. Nobody did anything with it. They send them all to California, and they all just sit there in California until they have time. And depending upon how much money you have, obviously, if Johnny Depp said that he was raped at a party last night, they would already have the DNA match today, wouldn't they? We would have every woman in America saying, this is horrible. We need to bring attention now to males who are being victimized. But which males? Then there's all these people who want to say that turning it in together isn't going to work. That telling the truth isn't going to work. Then they want to tell me about George Floyd. It took a lot of people to get that to happen, and look how many people had to get involved. That's right, but people did get involved, didn't they? People did speak up. They did share the information. Let's say your neighbor, right? He comes in, or comes out of his house one morning. His ex-wife is there. She's not supposed to be there. She comes onto his property. You can see it out the window. You can hear her screaming at him. You can see her smacking him 10 times on the lawn. You know for a fact he is the victim. He's the one that's being harmed. You can see it with your own two eyes. You've got your phone right there. You can record it. Easy. You can make it so it's not his word versus hers. Now, after her hitting him repeatedly, and it's not hurting him enough, and he's trying to get back into his house, and she keeps yanking on his shirt and yanking him back out and yanking him back out. She swings her purse at him, and he sticks his arms up like this. When he sticks his arms up like this, she smacks herself into his elbow, and now she's got a bloody mouth. Now she's a victim of domestic assault, even though she wasn't supposed to be there. It's not her place. She was told to leave, and you listened to the whole thing. And what did you do when the police showed up? You let it happen. You let it happen. You know that she's the predator. You let the cops arrest him. You don't bother to think about him for the rest of eternity, because here's the thing. He's going to prison because of a reaction to being assaulted. He is going to prison. He's going to lose his house. He's going to lose everything. And you're going to get another neighbor in there. When this guy finally gets released from prison, you're not even going to know it. You didn't care about him. He didn't matter as a human being. What you cared about is that it wasn't happening to you. Well, now you're years ahead. Your ex-wife, you're trying to be civil. You're afraid that if you try to arrest her, you've already got this image in your head of what happened with your neighbor. He was just trying to get away from the abuse. And you let it happen to him. And you know, looking around your little cul-de-sac of all the other people that live there, that every one of them is just going to watch the same as you did. You're going to tell other victims, hey, dude, you just need to let it go. You know, this one time I had this neighbor, dude, he was fucking getting the shit beat out of him by his ex-wife. It was on his property. It's his rental. It's his place. She fucking beat the shit out of him. I don't know what she had loaded up in her purse, but she smacked him a lot. You know, all he did is stick his hands up while she was coming in with a swing. And he went to prison for it. Is he going to remember that he literally let that happen? That he literally should have, being a good person, being a we the people kind of person, should have done the right thing and bore witness instead of looking the other way? It's not that man's fault that he went to prison. It's the witness's fault that he went to prison. Because they did nothing. Then later on, when it happens to them, look at what happens. You looked away when it happened to somebody else, and now it's happened to you. Isn't that karma? A lot of you guys keep pushing that on me. It's karma, it's karma. These people are going to get theirs. God's going to give them theirs, and karma's going to get theirs. Just let karma do it, karma do it. Make up your mind. Is it karma? Or is it your tarot? Or is it your deity? Or is it the law? You bounce around all over the place. Why can't we decide what the established law of the land is and follow that law? You know why the law doesn't work for poor people? Because poor people will all look away from other poor people going through this. Unless it's a pretty blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl who happened to be born on the wrong side of the tracks. Then everybody and their fucking mama want to hook her up and help her out. A lot of you think that talking over the victim who needs help is help. Telling them what to do is help. Pawning them off on someone else is help. I was pawned off onto Kandace Edwards by Stephanie Larkin, who was asked to go away. Everybody wants to pawn me off onto somebody else. And I say, no, that is not help. If I was raped today and I had to go to any of these women for help, what would I likely get? Oh, I understand. I had something similar happen to my cousin. I'm going through similar stuff with my kid, and then they go off on a story about their kid that lets you know they understand. But they just keep doing that. All right, well, if we're going to help out your kid, we need to focus on that while I have the resources. While I had that hotel room was the perfect time to work on that. The perfect time to do that. If that is a situation that your kid is in, and you're going to tell me that that is a situation that your kid is in, I'm going to do something about it right away. Either we can try to turn it in together. If you've got evidence, I will look at the evidence and back you up. Will you look at my evidence and back me up? No, you won't. You will argue as if you know better without looking at it. Now that you're angry with me because I've spoken up, which is what most people do, they get angry because I spoke up, because I gave them equal treatment. I will speak up to the world about how that feels when you do it to me. And I will show the world how you reacted when I did it back. How somehow it was an inappropriate reaction from me, but it's somehow magically okay for you. When I tell you about autism and how it affects me, the real life situation of somebody who has to live with this, and how I am treated, well, your wives' tales don't fix that. You talking about your cousin isn't going to help me with turning in the issue. If I've already done something repeatedly and you want me to start over from scratch again, and you're going to do things that are harmful to me, knowing that they're harmful to me. If I tell you that a bunch of people made things in my name and that I am being harmed by the public because of what these Natalie Bollinger groups are saying, you won't listen to what the Natalie Bollinger groups are saying. So when I send you evidence that shows that what they're saying is outright bullshit, you're also not looking at that evidence. What you're doing is you're trying to make decisions based on your feelings. This is why I won't fall for your religious crap. I believe in science, not pseudoscience. Somebody's intelligence is not based on the size or shape of their head. Ludicrous. It's also ludicrous to believe that you're helping an at-risk adult or a child by talking over them about your personal experiences. When you have agreed that you're going to set that time to help that particular victim, that time needs to be spent listening to and focusing on that victim. Not on your opinions. I think it sucks that Stephanie the horrible things that she did, and I think that it sucks that Jan Hansen is doing the same thing. I think it sucks that these people believe this to be okay, to go sticking your nose in somebody else's business, an at-risk adult who is in a very desperate situation, and you will literally only be pretty words to them. But then again, when you needed help, you had friends or family, and then you want to talk about how you didn't and don't. Meanwhile, you've also told me about all of the help that those people have provided and what it did for you. You got help when other people helped you. When you went in alone, you were screwed. But you pretend that you did it alone. And then you try to use that as an excuse. Oh, well, I was able to do it by myself and I have boobs, so that means that you must be able to as well. Excuse me, says I don't get where your genitalia should make it okay to have a completely different set of rules. I don't understand that. I don't understand where when I ask someone to go and leave me alone, how they're allowed to continue to harass me and threaten to kill me and threaten to kill my family, literally, and then pretend like I would threaten them and their families. But it's magically okay because you don't care about the law, you care about bias. You also care only about yourself. Many of these people who claim to have these sites where it's for speaking up for others The thing is that they don't like people doing to them. They do them to me over and over and over and over again while I'm trying to be nice. And then I eventually do it back to them. I'm like, hey, this is what it fucking feels like. Does it feel good? Does it feel good? Does it feel good when between looking at evidence and telling you that it's your fault, they tell you it's your fault, or infer that it's your fault, or insinuate that it's your fault? Over and over and over again. It's your fault, your fault, your fault. It doesn't feel good. What would happen if I went to Kandace Edwards if I were raped? Well, I'd get talked over. And over and over and over, and everything about her would be the important thing, and everything with her daughter is important. And I need to understand that is all she cares about. Well, that's the problem, is that you're focused just on you. You don't care about the other victims. Their voices don't actually matter. Let me tell you something about Colin Kaepernick. He's fighting for our rights. BLM is not fighting for our rights. BLM is fighting for special rights. Very, very different. Those of you who have a special cause for the mentally ill, but when a mentally ill person is being abused, you look the other way. You don't have time. You have time to go to a rally because it's something you can brag about, isn't it? Yeah, you brag about how you went to Pride to support gay people. Were you the one that got beaten up protecting your friends who were homosexuals? Were you the one who was assaulted by Danny Mac? Huh? What was that over? Me protecting a gay guy. That's right. I got assaulted because they assaulted a gay guy over another gay guy who was pissed off that he didn't get a BJ. Kelly Engel. The very same guy who decided that he was going to cold cock a mentally ill man by the name of Zach Boatman. Zach Boatman is schizophrenic. But Kelly believes that because he distributes meth to so many people, that they owe it to him to protect him when he decides that he's going to start crap with people. When he decides he's going to go down underneath the Boulder Public Library and try to pay people to beat up Ryan because Ryan wouldn't give him a BJ. But is Kelly going to say that? Is Kelly going to say, hey, this is because you wouldn't give me a BJ? No, it's hey, he's a cop caller. Here's some money to beat him up. No, Ryan didn't call the cops. But after they beat him up, he's like, what do you expect me to do? Yeah, I'm going to call the cops. And then they beat him up again. He came to me to do something about it. I went there to talk to him about it. They didn't want to listen to me. They were looking for an excuse to get violent some more. So, what is Caitlin Edwards? Sorry, not Caitlin. Kandace Edwards. If I've got issues with my computers, like my computer, the battery don't work. It's got to be plugged in. No matter what you're able to do on your end because of your skills, do not assume my skill level. Do not assume what I am able to do and not able to do. When I'm trying to tell you what I am capable of, there is a fucking reason. It's not because I want you to be abusive to me. When I use you as an example, there's a reason for that. It's not out of hatred for you. I don't want Chelsea Aiken's son to rape anybody else. I don't want your nephew to rape your daughter again. I didn't want Rayanne Ingersoll beating on Amy Spencer's kids. And guess what? I went to jail for that. I went to jail for protecting those kids. You're fucking welcome. It ain't the first time either. But here's the thing. Are you telling me just to bitch about it? or because you want help turning it in? If that's what you're telling me it for, you want help turning it in, then we can focus on yours. If that's not what you're doing, let's focus on mine, because I need to get my voice heard, because there are a lot of other victims who are not heard either. There's a lot of evidence that many of these victims specifically came to me when they were raped or beaten. Specifically came to me, but I was not heard because of homelessness and the mentally ill tag. And when they say I never tried to help, no, they never went in with me. That is what works. Instead, they bitched to me, but either A, never went in, or B, went in by themselves, like an idiot, got blown off, and then they're going to use that as an excuse later on. Oh, well, nobody helped me. Are you sure? Are you? Unfortunately, most victims end up protecting their predators for whatever reason. When you want to ask me over and over and over again why somebody would protect the dad who fucking raped them over and over and over again, well, you'll have to ask her or him. My mom has helped a lot of child molesters get away. Sheriff DaCosta helped a lot of child abusers get away, and a lot of people who abuse at-risk adults, i.e. the elderly or the disabled. Telling a disabled that they can work because you friggin' say they does. Really? Child saw this. If you are harmed and you are an at-risk adult, you need help turning it in right away, and that doesn't matter which gender you are. But as a male, you are far less likely to get that help. I'm in a situation now where all I can do for Kandace Edwards and her situation is speak out on my YouTube channel and say how horrible it is that her daughter was raped by her cousin. All I can do is talk about how horrible it is that Kandace doesn't have her kids, or at least that one. She says that her daughter was human trafficked there, system and by the courts. I'll speak. When you guys force me to do stuff by myself, you create a situation where it is my predator's word versus mine. Because all my predators have to do is push the mentally ill thing and play on stereotypes, and magically it must be my fault. I don't have a safe place to go. There is no parking lot that I can stay in now in Tillamook. There is no safe place for me to drive or park. There is now no point in time where I do not have to be afraid of retaliation. When I explain to any of these people that I am being harmed by the public over what other people did. Other people, literally other people who raped Natalie. Her dad, her Uncle Troy, Tim Beeson. Who was it that was threatening to kill people and kill their families before Natalie died? That would be very specifically Tim Beeson, over and over and over again. So you guys just don't look at that and pretend it doesn't exist. And then magically, fine, you know better than me. Right? So, while I'm being victimized by the public because these web sleuth pages and places want to assign all of these things to me. Every time that you make one of those fake profiles in my name, that's not what I fucking need. When I tell you repeatedly that's not what I need, and you're going to exert the time towards such a fruitless and stupid endeavor, it is a stupid endeavor. Because then you want to say, well, I'll write a note to go with it. That is a stupid endeavor. You would know this if you had listened to the phone calls, if you could take the time to do that. But no, that's too difficult. I feel bad for Chelsea Aiken. I feel worse for myself and her daughter. Two victims. Two victims of her protecting a child molester and a rapist. Amanda DeMette. Her brother, the nasty-ass pedophile. I get to be victimized, and her excuse is her brother, the pedophile. Her brother's the pedophile. With Tim Beeson, was I stalking Tim Beeson, or was he fucking stalking me? Did I try the best that I could to find a peaceful resolution, despite the fact that he was threatening to kill me and threatening to kill my family? It doesn't matter. You guys are just going to talk about yourselves. If my little sister gets killed because all you wanted to do is talk about yourself, you really think I'm going to forgive you? If my niece ends up dead because you're too selfish to help another person, I will not forgive you. You made a conscious decision to make it about you.